Hey friends, Katie here with For the Love of Leftovers. Thanks for joining me in the kitchen today. We have a bunch of massive meal prep ahead of us today. We've got loads of chicken, and by loads, I mean 50 pounds or more of chicken breasts that we are going to prep for the freezer. So I figured I would bring you along and show you 10 different recipes that you can make just in one morning or one afternoon with 50 pounds of chicken breast to then stuff into the freezer for a later date. So let's first talk about a few things that you're going to need in order to make this whole process a little bit easier. I do have some of these stands for holding open the Ziploc bags, which is one thing you're going to need is gallon-sized Ziploc bags. The stands are just like a nicety. You don't have to have them. I will have them linked in the description below, as well as an ebook that has all of today's recipes, tips, tools that you need, all the things, again, linked down in the description below. So if you want to grab that and follow along, or if you want to grab that and do it at a later date, you're more than welcome to. But we're going to need, or could use, some of these stands, gallon-sized Ziploc bags. If you're getting the stands, see if you can find some that maybe have like a suction cup on the bottom. These ones do not. I got these off of Amazon. They just have a rubber base and to prevent some slipping around. One thing that I wish they did have was a suction cup at the bottom. I feel like that would make them a bit more sturdy, but they work. They work for their purpose. Something else I would suggest that you do is a cutting board and a knife for your vegetables, fruits, and then a separate one for your meat, okay? That way we can avoid any cross-contamination and also don't have to keep washing dishes and using them for the next one. Does that make sense? So as long as we keep everything separate, then we can just kind of like plow through things, especially where we're using only one protein today. We're using chicken. This is just gonna end up being the chicken cutting board and the chicken knife. You're also going to need some tablespoons, teaspoons. I love this pair. They're super pretty, but they're also magnetic. So just like helps as far as if I'm setting them down, they're just gonna clink right back together. So that's really nice to have. You could probably use, depending on how big your batches are that you're doing, you could use measuring cups as well. I do have, let's see, I'll pull out at least one liquid measuring cup and then I'll probably pull out a dry measuring cup as well. For the recipes today, we're also going to need a blender. That's only going to be used for one, maybe two recipes. So you could either do that one first or save that one to last, and that way you can wash it right after. But those are things, really, that's about it that we're going to need. You're going to need, of course, your recipes and your ideas, your creativity. We've got plenty of that in today's kitchen, so let's dive in. I'm going to start with the fajita chicken that we have. I started that the other day when I was doing another video, a large batch, what was it? Large batch stuffed pepper recipe. And so I was cutting up peppers and onions for that recipe and then had some extras, so I just started throwing them into one of or two of our gallon size bags. And so we're going to start with those first so that we can get those done and out of the way. I have a box here of mushrooms. Not everybody in my family likes mushrooms, so we're only going to do, what is this? I think this is an 8-ounce can. Yep, an 8-ounce, not can, box of mushrooms. Always good. Also helpful to have a little trash bin. So now that I've emptied this of our mushrooms, we're going to use that as our little trash bin. As it gets filled, put it into the actual trash. Let's give these a rinse and then we'll start chopping. Having things like paper towels or a towel to dry your hands is also helpful. So have that ready to go. Wear an apron if you're concerned about your clothes, which I should be, but here we are. And if you hear any noises in the background, I do have kids home today, trying to keep them occupied at the moment. So you may hear some noises in the background. Okay, we're gonna be chopping up all of our mushrooms. I've got 2 bags. I've got a pepper and a half in each bag. Most of our recipes that we're doing today, we're going to be doing 2 batches of them. So keep that in mind. You could do this similar to the concept of like 1 for now, 1 for later. But I have about 5 pounds, not 5 pounds, yes, about 5 pounds of chicken per recipe that I have planned for today. And so this first batch that we have, it's actually almost 6 pounds. I'm going to take one of those out though. I got 9 packs of the 5 to 6 pound chicken breasts from BJ's. And so 9 packs of that. I'm going to steal a little bit from each one of those packs in order to make our 10th recipe. So as I was saying before, I've got about a pepper and a half in here. Green pepper can be red, yellow, whatever you like. We've also got 1 purple onion in there. And then I'm just going to split these mushrooms in between the bags. And so today I'm going to do a little bit of a cheat method, a little shortcut. I got some of these old El Paso taco kits from our grocery shopping trip the other day to Brownfield Market, and it's a discount grocery store kind of near me. It's still quite a drive, but anyhow, these were $1.25 each. Now you can create your own seasoning blend, which I will have written out in the ebook. So in case you don't have one of these kits, you can just use the blend that I have written in there. However, I'm going to show you the shortcut for these. We will be using these taco kits, so the shells and the tortillas, when we eat these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the sauce and the seasoning packet. Oh, can we get it out? Okay, calm down. Out of both of these. And then I also have a salsa packet from another one that we had. We usually don't eat all the salsa, so this is a great way to also use it up. If you're like me and my family, where like you don't use a salsa packet, but you keep it in your refrigerator, this is the time to use those. So what I'm going to do, haven't gotten to cutting our chicken yet, and that's okay. Oh, I think I also have some leftover salsa in the fridge. So I'm gonna open up scissors, keep scissors handy as well. I'm gonna open up packets. We're gonna put 1 seasoning packet in each of these Ziplocs. Okay, then I'm going to cut open these salsa packets. Those are going into, this is going to act as a great marinade because we're going to freeze these, but then the day that you're planning to have them, the night before, if you can remember, you're going to take these out, put them in the fridge, and then effectively your chicken is going to marinate for about 24 hours. So all this delicious flavoring is really going to help penetrate the chicken, marinate it. Okay, so I've got this also. We're just gonna dump half in there, half in here. I am also working to clean out my fridge as I'm doing this. So one thing about buying groceries in bulk is you end up, of course, with a lot of food, which is great. But typically you'll end up not eating that food in time and then it just goes to waste, right? So we want to make sure that we're kind of working to preserve that food that we're buying. So that's why we're kind of cleaning out the fridge at the same time. I have about a third of a jar left of salsa, and while we do have chips that we could use to eat with that, I am just gonna add that right in here to this fajita mix. And now we've got that used up. And then also a little bit of a secret ingredient here. I'm gonna add a little bit of chicken bouillon. And that might be a little surprising, but a lot of Mexican cuisine actually includes chicken bouillon. So we're going to add that in. I would say it's almost as prevalent as adding oregano to your dish. Okay, set that aside for now. We're gonna tidy up as we go. That way we keep our station clear.
Keep your station clear.
Also, if you can, you get gloves. I meant to say that at the beginning and forgot. I promise the ebook is a whole lot more organized than I am right now. Okay, make sure they are food safe gloves. This just helps when handling all of the meat. Now that we've used our mushroom scrap bucket, I also am going to just switch to a bowl, and I'm going to trim off any pieces that need trimmed from this chicken. And we've got a lot of chicken to trim today, so just going the large bowl route will be fine. And for fajitas, I am going to fillet this chicken, not super perfect. I just want to get these breasts cut down a little bit, and then I'm going to cut them into strips, kind of like chicken tenders. This is going to ensure that all that chicken gets a ton of flavor when it's marinating. Also, it's going to make sure that it cooks really quickly when it is time to cook it. I can also make sure that I have enough pieces for everyone as I'm doing this. We've got our chicken all cut up, and now I'm just going to separate it as equally as I can into these bags. Actually gonna take a little bit from this one. Okay, so now we've got our fajita chicken taken care of. So now we're just gonna zip it almost all the way shut. Squeeze out as much air as we can. Give it a little rock just to get any air bubbles out. Okay. Massage that all. Try and get all of that chicken covered, all of those vegetables covered. seeing a little bit of chicken there that doesn't have any flavoring on it. All right, that one's done. Fajita chicken, all ready for the freezer. Okay, next on our list is a buffalo chicken dip for the slow cooker. And it's easiest if you write on these before they're filled. So we're gonna write slow cooker buffalo chicken. And then I'm gonna put dip in parentheses because this is not necessarily going to be served as a dip, but I do want to make sure that whoever is looking at it understands that there is dairy in here. And for my house, I'm going to write not JJ safe because that's my littlest that cannot have the dairy. Not JJ safe. Okay. Okay, so we've got our bags situated. Woo! Got our bags situated in here. And then I have already cut up all the chicken as well. So we've got 5 pounds of diced raw chicken. And I've got some cream cheese, 2 blocks. I'm going to add a block to each because it's kind of already doubling the recipe. This is how we're doing it, okay? Okay. I've got my jar of hot sauce, and this is 12 ounces. I'm just gonna measure it out cup-wise, and we're gonna split it in half between the bags. So we've got about 1.5 cups. So we're going to do 3/4 cup into each bag. Ooh, I love the smell of that. Okay, and then I'm going to do equal parts of this ranch dressing that I have. Okay, so 3/4 cup into each bag. Almost uses all of that up. We don't really use ranch dressing. The only time that we actually have ranch dressing is in buffalo chicken dip. So it's kind of nice to get it used up. Almost used up. Okay, and then typically you do not want to freeze cream cheese. It does change in texture, but because it's going to be going into a slow cooker and getting melted, I'm okay. It's not, the texture isn't going to change it once it's all slow cooked. Does that make sense? So I'm going to open up one of these and pop one into each of our gallon-sized bags here. Done. Dogs and babies and all the noise in the background. I don't know what you can hear with this mic on, so I feel like I have to excuse life happening around me. Okay, I'm gonna pop these into the trash. And then I like blue cheese in mine, and this is something that I got the other day at the market also. And I'm going to add in some garlic. We're going to do a tablespoon of garlic into each one. Right, and this is, let's see, You can use as much or as little gorgonzola as you want. You can leave it out. You can completely omit it if you want to. How much is this? 7 ounces. 7 ounces of gorgonzola cheese. If you get the already crumbled stuff, great. And so I'm just gonna, again, kind of crumble and pop some of it into these bags. On salads, in buffalo chicken dip, love gorgonzola. And we're not adding a ton either. Again, this will get all melted down. It's gonna add a little bit of a tanginess. Okay, and now we're just gonna split our chicken as best we can between the 2 bags. I really like it when we can get complex flavors with minimal ingredients. And that's exactly what we're doing here with Chipotle mango chicken. This is our next freezer meal. So I've got 7 ounces of Chipotle peppers here, Chipotle peppers in adobo sauce. I'm gonna add the entire thing. Remember, we're making 5 pounds. Okay. And I've had this can open for quite a while in my fridge, so it's good to get it used up. Whoop. Just gonna move these over here. And then I've got 2 mangoes. This is really gonna balance out the level of sweetness, the smokiness of sweetness. These are so ripe. Just gonna cut along each side of the seed. And then I am going to put on gloves. Just gonna take my spoon and scoop out all of the mango right into that blender. This is going to be a spicy, smoky, sweet, little tart because we're gonna add some lime juice. I'm gonna add some fresh herbs to it with some cilantro. So this is gonna be a really beautifully bright, vibrant dish, which is something that we desperately need being in late February and it's literally snowing outside. Bring on the summer vibes. I'm gonna get as much of this mango as I possibly can, so I'm just going around the seed with my spoon, scooping out as much as I can. This one is so tender I can pretty much do it with my hands.
catch myself on the wayside. Only takes one look into your eyes, and I won't be the same. You light it all ablaze. Wanna give you all my
Okay, I'm also going to put in just a half teaspoon of garlic. I'm going to put in a good chunk of cilantro, about this much. It's about quarter to a third of a bunch that you would get from the store. And I'm putting them in, stems and all. There's lots of flavor in those stems, and we're just blending this anyhow, so there's no reason to cut those off. Also going to add in the juice of 2 limes. If you roll them, that helps to release the juices. Add a good amount of pressure. If I had bottled lime juice, I would just use that, but I have actual limes. Also going to add in some coconut milk just for some creaminess and to kind of tame down the chipotle just a bit. And this is unsweetened coconut milk. We don't need sweetened because we have the mango in there. Don't want to add any more sugar or sweetness. Okay, so a full can of it, a full 13.66 ounce can. I'm going to add in, I'll measure this for you. I think I want to do a half teaspoon, just a half teaspoon of salt. Yeah, that looks good. Half teaspoon of salt there. Ooh. Wow. Oh my gosh, that is going to be good. That is definitely on the spicier side. Ooh, gosh. That is so good. I want to make sure that we get every last drop of this. It is so good. It would also be really good on a fish, like actually shrimp. Shrimp would be really good. You could even freeze some of this and use it as a dipping sauce. I should have thought of that before I put it all in here, but you could pour some of this into like little super cubes, just as little dip sizes. Freeze them, package them, and then pair them with these. I'm also going to write on the bags that I recommend grilling. That way I can remember. Okay, so these ones I do want to package with the intent of grilling them. So all I'm doing here is filleting the chicken. We've got 2 very large breasts, so we've got 4 fillets here. I'm going to put these all into one bag. This is one of my favorite recipes from this whole day. Myself and my husband really liked it, and it honestly wasn't too spicy to where the kids couldn't eat it. You can also add some sour cream, like you could make this into some sort of a taco. It was so good, just served over rice or served with some coleslaw with some fresh veggies or even pickled veggies. Just like balanced it so perfectly. Shameless plug again, you can get this recipe and all of the recipes from today's video in the link down in the description for the ebook. All 9 of these recipes, loads of tips, tricks, as well as, you know, some kid-friendly options and suggestions are all going to be in that ebook below. Okay, so the next recipe that we're doing is a honey barbecue gochujang chicken. So this is again going to be kind of smoky. It's going to be a little bit spicy, but we're going to balance it out with some sweetness. So I need to get out all of the barbecue sauce that I have here. This is all that I have. And this is honey barbecue sauce, but it doesn't have to be honey barbecue sauce. You can just use regular barbecue sauce because we are going to add a little bit of honey. Okay, also going to add a little bit of water just to shake it up and get it out. And I'm just mixing this all right into a mixing bowl. It's going to help me measure some things out also. Perfect. All right, so we've got a cup of barbecue sauce. Okay, next we're going to add 2 tablespoons of this gochujang. This is a fermented chili paste. Very smoky, a little on the spicy. Just has really, really great flavor all around. Still have a little bit left in there. We might use that in another recipe. I would like to get it used up just to have one less thing in the fridge, but I really do like it. I do use it quite a bit. Okay, now we're gonna do our honey. We're gonna do about 2 tablespoons of honey. Ooh, some thick tablespoons. Might have ended up being more like 3. Okay, just gonna use this mixing spoon to just mix it all around, because why not? It's already dirty. Have my little mini rubber spatula that is helpful in times like this to get the rest of that out. So it's not a ton of sauce, but it's quite a bit of flavor. We're also going to add in some garlic because, hello, life, garlic, we need it. I'm going to do a tablespoon of minced garlic. I'm also going to add in just a tablespoon of this chicken bouillon, and that's going to be our salt portion, so I'm not going to add any salt, but it's going to give kind of this like homey flavor, you know what I mean, like it warm, rich, but in a different way than the barbecue sauce. Okay, all right. Oh, and I'm going to add just a splash of apple cider vinegar. I'm going to do a tablespoon. Tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Acid helps to bring some balance. It also helps to tenderize meat. And we've got a lot of richness, smokiness in there. So that's going to be perfect. I think for this one, I'm just going to fillet the chicken again. Make it easy. We've got both of our bags ready. So let's see, I've got a 1.5 cups, just shy of 2 cups of total liquid. I'm going to use this guy just to measure. Okay. Maybe a splash more. So right between 3/4 of a cup and 1 cup is how much sauce is going to go into each of these bags. Again, I know it doesn't look like much, but when you're using these as a marinade, really is going to do its job. The timing here is really key. And while I do love making things from scratch, I also can appreciate the amount of time and effort that went in to making pre-bottled products. So, for example, the barbecue sauce has loads of flavor in it, right? And it's been sitting with itself, developing those flavors. Time really does help to develop flavors. So whether you have something that you have canned, or like canned yourself, or something that you've purchased canned, like this barbecue sauce, those flavors are just melding with themselves over time, right? Same as these chickens being in the Ziploc bag with the sauce, those flavors are going to meld over time. So using things like the fermented chili paste, that is going to, it's a quick and easy and a no fuss way on your part to add a ton of flavor. We can use minimal ingredients because we're using items that already have loads of flavor built in. Just like using wine, whiskey, glazes, let's see, what else? Salad dressings, using pre-made mixes like spice mixes. Those are all great shortcuts that are really just going to add more flavor to your end dish, and you're not going to sacrifice anything, really. I mean, yes, homemade is always better because you know exactly what's going into it, but that is a convenience and a shortcut worth doing sometimes. All right, there's our barbecue honey gochujang chicken, ready for the freezer. Okay, so next on our list is a citrus herb chicken. So what I have is 5 pounds separated, so about 2.5 pounds into each bag. And then I have a 1/2 cup of citrus blended juices. So I have fresh squeezed orange juice, lemon juice, and lime juice. And so I had a little orange, so I squeezed the junk out of that, like every little last drop. You can use actual orange juice if you have some. I just happen to have actual oranges. You could also add the zest from any of these citruses to add even more of that bright flavor. So total, I have a 1/2 cup here. So we're gonna do a 1/4 cup into each of these. I know that does not seem like much. The amount of acid that makes up these juices really doesn't need a ton. Again, adding zest would impart more of that flavor, so feel free to do that. Okay. Now I'm going to add in a 1/4 cup of olive oil to each of these. We don't want them like sopping and swimming in oil, but we do want oil in there. This almost acts as like a dressing. It's the same way you would make a dressing. Then we're gonna add in a few different spices, salt and pepper. You could also add in honey if you wanted to, or some hot sauce to just add a little bit of a kick. But I want to keep this very light, very bright, great for the grill. This will be a great one that the kids will enjoy easily. No issues there. All right, so we've got, oh, I might need more salt. Okay. I'm going to do a half teaspoon of salt into each of these bags. We're going to do a quarter teaspoon of pepper. Put those aside. Now, the spices that I have, you can use any spices really that you want. Anything Italian, Mediterranean, you could use a spice blend just to make it even quicker and easier for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do lemongrass, dillweed, and basil. If I had fresh basil, I would use fresh basil. Well, same with the dill. If I had fresh of any of those, I'm going to do a teaspoon of dried basil into each one. Next, I'm going to do a half teaspoon of dried dill into each one. I think I'm going to do a half teaspoon of lemongrass also into each one. I'm also going to add in some fresh parsley, just a little bit, like maybe a teaspoon or so to each, just to, again, add that bright, vibrant, fresh flavor that pairs so well with the citrus. Any fresh herbs that you have would be great with this. You could do cilantro, you could do basil, you could even do a rosemary in here. And more is more. More is better in this case. So whatever you have for fresh herbs, go ahead and add those in. Just have a pinch or so. Like I said, you can add honey. You could even add like a Parmesan cheese to this. There's so many ways you could go. You could, of course, add garlic. I am keeping this super simple, super kid-friendly, and we can always do another version with other ingredients, which I probably will. I'm thinking red pepper flakes would be really delicious in this. A little bit of, that's the cat running around. A little bit of heat, but not exactly spiciness, especially when you only add like a pinch. Okay, make sure that we are, I'm sorry, the cat is having the zoomies. Make sure you are really massaging this together so that those spices all incorporate. And then we've got citrus herb chicken. Okay, so something to note. Ooh, we will only be able to do 9 recipes, I think, in this video, because by the time you end up taking off all the parts that are undesirable in the chicken breasts, we lose quite a bit. So I only have enough left for doing double batches of 1, 2, 3, 4 more recipes. So something to just kind of keep in mind. 50 pounds is not what you get. You don't get the 50 pounds. You're gonna get a little bit less. So while we had a little bit of a lunch break, I did some dishes, I did some tidying up, and also cut up the rest of our chicken into what we needed. So I have about 8.4 pounds of diced chicken here. And then I have some more diced chicken over there, but that's for a specific recipe. And then I also have some chicken that I filleted for Katsu chicken. So we're gonna make this super quick and easy. And I'm using a scale, and we're gonna do 2 pounds in each bag because I have it all in one big bowl here. So I wanna make sure that I'm being as equal as possible. And these next ones will be pretty quick because it, again, is just kind of more of a marinade. Okay, so now we are moving on to Bang Bang Chicken. So this is gonna be pretty easy. We're just going to mix up a marinade the chicken, and then on the nights that we want to eat it, all we're gonna have to do is then remove the chicken from the bag, toss in some cornstarch, and freshly fry it. Okay, so we're gonna start off with a 1/2 cup of soy sauce, and we're making the marinade for both of these. Then we're gonna add in 1/4 cup of rice wine vinegar. Next, we're gonna do 3 tablespoons of sesame oil. I really like sesame oil. This is a 1/2 tablespoon measurement, so we're gonna do 6 of these. Okay, that leaves us with just about enough for our next dish. Also going to do a tablespoon of fish sauce. Fish sauce is one of those ones, it adds balance, but it's also easy to overdo, so you really got to be careful with it. I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of garlic. Now we're going to do a large chunk of ginger, a couple tablespoons of grated, but I'm just going to cut this because I can't find my grater. So I have a really nice big honkin' knob there. I'm just going to grate this right into the sauce. I'm gonna do a 1 to 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, just for a little bit of sweetness to balance it. Then I'm going to do a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. We've got all that soy sauce in there, so I don't want to overdo it, but we do want a little bit. Just going to mix this all up. Got about 1 1/4 cups, so I'm just going to kind of eyeball it, pouring it in here. I do want to keep mixing it because I don't want it to separate. And that's it for the Bang Bang shrimp. Not shrimp, though it would be really good as Bang Bang shrimp. Bang Bang chicken. That's it for the marinade, I should say. I think what I'm also going to do is make some dipping sauce and then freeze that in super cubes. Next, we're doing a miso honey chicken. So this is going to be similar to the Bang Bang chicken as far as ingredients goes, but it is going to have a different taste. So I am going to, again, start with half cup of soy sauce. And we're going to see how much of the sesame oil we have here. I'm just going to use that. Let's see. Tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, 3. Okay. 3 tablespoons of sesame oil, and that uses up our sesame oil. Going to do 2 tablespoons of honey. Ooh, might have been a little bit more than 2 tablespoons. Now we're going to add miso, and one thing I've learned about using miso is you want more than what you think you need or think you want. At least I've found that as far as flavor goes. And I'm actually going to move this to this bigger bowl because I know I'm going to need some room to whisk. Make sure we get all of that honey out. If you don't like using honey or you don't have honey, you could use brown sugar. You could use white sugar. Even use a little bit of maple syrup, though I wouldn't go crazy on that. Okay, so the miso, I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of miso. And like hefty tablespoons too. I'm using this half tablespoon measurement and it's not working the greatest with me. So 2 hefty tablespoons of miso paste. I have white. You could use, I think it comes in red and green also. We're going to add in a little bit of rice wine vinegar. See, it's about a tablespoon, just a tablespoon of it. We're going to add in some garlic. Two teaspoons of the garlic. Again, we need to add in our ginger. This miso can be tricky to get incorporated. So you may need to use a spoon to smoosh it and then a whisk to incorporate it a bit better. Okay, so we've got a cup in there, so I'm just going to pour about a half cup in. And now we have miso honey done. Oh, that's right. This one I did chop, so I'll do this. The next one we're going to do is a lemon garlic Parmesan chicken skewer. And so I'm going to show you how I'm going to prep these as well as the butter for this and get it in the freezer. I have just over 4 pounds of chicken in here. I'm going to start, this is going to be very lemon forward. I'm going to start with a 1/4 cup of lemon juice. And then we're going to add a half cup of plain Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is going to help, not only add protein, but it's going to act as a good binder to the chicken. Same, you could use mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is also a really good binder. In this particular thing of plain Greek yogurt it kind of like froze in the back of the refrigerator. So like eating it out of the jar texture wise might not be super fun, but we can use it in a marinade like this, no problem. Okay, and I'm gonna add a tablespoon of, actually let's do a half tablespoon of onion powder. We're gonna do a full tablespoon of garlic salt. I'm gonna do a half tablespoon of paprika. I'm gonna do a full tablespoon and then some of Italian seasoning. I'm gonna do a half teaspoon, no, let's do a full teaspoon. Full teaspoon of pepper. I'm also gonna do a half teaspoon of salt, just to make sure we've got enough salt in there. Just a tablespoon or so of olive oil. I had some skewers soaking in water because we are actually going to put these chicken pieces on skewers and freeze them that way. That way they are all ready to go. This is going to be an air fryer recipe. You could do this on the grill too. So we've got this all mixed up, and we're just going to start putting the pieces on here. And I will take the chicken off the skewers in order to serve my kids. So it's okay to me if we end up with like just a few like really thick skewers. Not everyone's gonna get their own skewer. How many times can we say skewer in this video? You want to make sure that these are nice and tightly pushed down. They're big pieces. They're cut relatively thin though. And just to get the texture right when we air fry them, you want them to be really squished down. I would say that's good right there. Okay, so now we're gonna make the garlic herb butter to go with those chicken skewers. And so we're gonna do that by melting some butter. Okay, so I've got that stick of butter melting there. I'm gonna add in some garlic. I'm going to aim for about a tablespoon. All we've done is added a little bit of heat to that garlic just to take the edge off. I don't want to brown the butter because I want it to cool down and solidify again. Okay, so I'm just going to remove that from the heat. I'm going to go a step further and even pour it into a bowl. Well, I forgot to press record, so I don't know where I was at, but I melted a stick of butter, added the garlic, transferred that to this bowl, and then added half a cup of grated Parmesan cheese and then about a 1/4 cup of chopped parsley. And I'm just mixing that around, and we're gonna let this sit in the fridge covered, come to, you know, room temperature or cooler. Let it solidify really, and then I'm gonna wrap it up in some saran wrap as like a little log of butter, and this is gonna get frozen in the same bag as the skewers. Okay, just got home from getting the kids. Now let's see if we can finish up our last recipe. So this one is similar to a fried chicken. It's called Katsu chicken. And really you could bread and fry this any way you want to. This calls for panko. Okay, so I've got 6 eggs in here. I'm gonna whisk them up with a fork. We're gonna get some salt and pepper on our chicken fillets. Trying to get this to not shake so much. Okay, so I'm gonna add actually salt and pepper to our flour right here. Okay, so I'm going to take my cutlets, and first thing I'm going to do is get them into this flour mixture. Well, this flour, salt, pepper. Clearly I need a bigger bowl to do this, but these chicken cutlets are huge. And I meant to pound these down to get them flat and even. I forgot. But that part will be in the recipe guide. Now we're going to move it to our egg wash. I'm going to flip it over. I should have worn gloves for this. When the kids come home, it's like all bets are off. Everything just goes out the window. Okay, so we've got this covered in egg wash. Now we're going to get panko crumbs on here. You can use seasoned, you can use plain. I've got plain today, so that's what we're doing. I'm just going to kind of press some of these breadcrumbs in. These cutlets are so big, it's really... All right, let's see if we can get an assembly line going. Okay, arguably this is our messiest recipe today. And so what I'm gonna do with these ones, these need to be frozen before I can put them into the Ziploc bag. So I'm gonna put them all on a parchment lined sheet pan and get them into the freezer so that they can almost like par freeze. Okay, I want this coating to really adhere to the chicken, and then I want to be able to stack the chicken on top of each other without worrying too much about the breading coming off. Okay, now this entire sheet pan is gonna go into the freezer, and I'll freeze it for about an hour and then transfer it to the Ziploc bags. All right, so I've got my chicken katsu here. And so you want to cook these while they're frozen. If you wait for them to thaw, they will end up soggy. So what I'm going to do is line a whole sheet pan here. I've got 4. This will be more than enough for us for dinner. We're just putting it on a foil lined sheet pan and putting a rack on top just to give it a bit more airflow. And then to help with the browning, I am going to spray the tops with oil, whatever oil you've got. I'm gonna flip them over so that I can spray the other side as well. You can put these into an air fryer, that will work also. I'm just gonna cook these all at once. So I'm just gonna do the oven method. So the oven is going to be 400 degrees for about 30 minutes, 20, 25, 30, just make sure that you're checking on them. They should be brown, internal temperature should be 165. And if you're doing it in the air fryer, these will go in at about 375 for 12 to 16 minutes. Again, flip halfway to have an even browning on both sides and make sure that it's 165 internally. And while that's cooking, I'm going to make the sauce. So I'm going to do a big batch here because it's going to be for my whole family. So we're going to do about a half cup of ketchup. You really can eyeball it, it's not that serious. We're gonna do about 4 tablespoons of Worcestershire. And I don't know where my soy sauce is, it might be out. So I have this ginger soy, so I'm just gonna use this instead. This is going to be 4 tablespoons of this, about. And then we're gonna add in a little bit of sugar. I'm just gonna do a spoonful like that. And we're just gonna mix it up, and this will be our sauce that's gonna go over our cooked katsu chicken. All right, so these were actually in there. I added another 20 minutes, flipped them, sprayed more of that spray on them. They're definitely not as golden brown as I would like. I would like for them to be more like this, but they're done. We don't want to overcook them. Honestly, doesn't even matter that they're not super golden brown because these are delicious. This is so crunchy, full of flavor. This sauce is amazing. Serving it over a bed of couscous. This is gonna be gone tonight. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in the kitchen today. I hope you got some inspiration, some meal ideas, and you check out that link down in the description where you can grab the ebook for just $7. And I will see you in the very next video where we are doing more big batch freezer meals, more meal prep ideas, and as always, getting creative in the kitchen. Bye!